we're all doing well. We're going to do some more NFL draft recap. We'll talk about the playoffs with the NBA. Second round is getting underway. NHL playoffs got underway yesterday. Both those are continuing on today. Might get to some MLB and some other stuff. You have to tune in to see. So without further ado, let's talk about the NFL draft. Talked a little bit about it yesterday, but let's continue that. I did the AFC East for my draft grades. I'm gonna go team by team, and I'm going to much if I'll give a letter grade, I will say what I think, how I think each team did. Very crazy draft. 9 trades in the first round. That's crazy. 9 trades in the first round alone. I thought there wouldn't be a lot of trades just because I thought a lot of teams would not want to move up because there's really no stud in this draft, but I was wrong. So let's just go team by team. I did the AFC East yesterday. I'll just go team by team in alphabetical order, so that's about what it says on my site. So here we go. Okay, let me just pull up the right one. We got a couple people in here, it appears. Welcome in, John. Welcome in, No Punts. How's it going? Or if you guys pulling up the NFL draft grade. I'm going to do some NFL draft recap. I did a little bit yesterday. I will not be going over the AFC East unless you guys want me to because I did that yesterday. And No Punts wants some mic, so let's throw him on. Give him 10 minutes on the hot seat. We'll show off the arrows on the Cardinals once we get to this and see what No Punts wants to talk about. What's up, man?
How's it going, Jake?
Not bad. About yourself?
Good. I wanted to hear, I think it was you that recently had a couple. Did you ever take that Allen Iverson wasn't very good because of his shooting splits once?
That was not me.
Oh, all right. What about there was someone else who was saying like they were criticizing the Timberwolves for playing differently the last 4 minutes than the first 44 minutes of a game?
Really? I'm trying to think. I don't think I've heard that one. They said they were playing the last 4 minutes differently. I don't know.
Nice, all good. Hey, I got a hot take I want to run by you.
All right.
I'm not ready to go big with it,
Okay.
but I think I want to plant the seed.
Okay.
Ja Morant is going to be the next Russell Westbrook.
Oh, Russell Westbrook. I don't think that's a very good thing considering how he played this year. Why do you think so?
So it's a hot take because remember Russell Westbrook always played good in the regular season.
Yeah,
It's
correct.
kind of like it takes advantage of one of our biases as sports fans, kind of like shiny object. So I think Ja Morant's awesome, and I love his story. You know, he earned everything he has. He's kind of like Westbrook. He's got that edge, that chip. He's going to go to the rim hard. I mean, that's like kind of what Westbrook did. He's awesome in transition, but the problem is he's not a shooter. And it's like you can always just defend by sagging back. And you kind of watch what the Warriors did a little bit. They're going to dare him to shoot. And I know he's a pretty good shooter, and so was kind of Westbrook. But if you're not a great shooter and you're in the guard position in the NBA, that's going to be trouble.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, when it comes to the athleticism, Ja and Russ are kind of on the same wavelength there. Obviously, Russ in his prime was an absolute freak. I just pulled up his regular season stats. He shot 49% from the field, 34% from 3. So he's a decent shooter. I would not call him a great shooter. Of course, he is still extremely young, so he could improve. But I could see that I do think he has performed well in the playoffs. I thought, besides game 1 against Minnesota, where he really struggled, I thought he's played very well. You know, he had a game winner in one of the games against Minnesota. He's had some performances, but we'll see. You know, he definitely has to have the same athleticism as Russell Westbrook. I guess only time will tell with that. We'll see how the series goes with Golden State.
Yeah, I mean, I just think I don't know if you watched that game 1 of the Warriors Grizzlies, and I just kind of noticed it was, the Warriors certainly have a game plan to and kind of the Bucks to an extent. I mean, they are going to dare teams to shoot threes that aren't great shooting teams. And to me,
Right.
the NBA is pretty obvious. The best shooting teams are the best teams. And like by far the Warriors and the Bucks are the 2 best shooting teams. The Bucks don't get their
Right.
due, partly because, everything thinks about Giannis. But they've complimented him with a bunch of three-point shooters. So, which leads me to the Suns, because I'll tell you my other hot take. whichever team pays DeAndre Ayton a lot of money next year doesn't know what they're doing.
So you're not a fan of DeAndre Ayton.
I'm not a fan of the big man position. I mean, I think it's again kind of like that shiny object. Big men do cool things sometimes. They jump and they dunk, but you've seen it a little bit in the Mavs series in game one. I mean, you put Aiton out on an island against Doncic. Doncic is kind of going to do what he wants. And then I just worry about having players on the court that can't shoot threes because that just hurts the spacing. I mean, Aiton's doing good things, but he's also getting fed by CP3 and Devin Booker. So for me, it's like not only are big men not important, but the other thing to me is like, what does Ayton do? Is he really that much better than JaVale McGee? So my point is, are you really going to invest that much money in that position? Where to me, it's like you could get Clint Capella. You could get, I mean, these guys are to me like a dime a dozen, just like big men that are tall. That's pretty much their only skill.
That's a fair point. I like DeAndre Ayton. I think he's a very good player. This offseason, obviously, he'll be a restricted free agent. The Suns did not pay him over last offseason. He was a little upset about it, but he let bygones be bygones and he went out and did his thing.
I
Do
mean, I
I
give him
think?
credit. He's been smart. Like he could have sulked
Mm-hmm,
this year. You didn't pay me. He's giving out. He's trying to get paid. He's trying to get that bag. He's giving it everything he has.
mm-hmm.
But
He
it's kind
is.
of like, is he really that much better than Rudy Gobert? And I knew the Jazz were in trouble. Basically, they went downhill once they gave Gobert all that money. So it's like, you
Yeah.
don't want to invest that much money in the five.
Yeah, like if he gets paid like Gobert did, like $40 million a year, that is obnoxious. Like that, he is not worth that. But if you're giving him a 4 year deal worth 22 million a year, I think that's fair value. But if he's going to be one of the highest paid players in the league, highest paid center in the league, I would say that's a stretch.
But it's like someone in the chat's talking about, oh, you can't run 5 3-point shooters. Like, yeah, actually you can. I mean, when I grow up in basketball, there was a position called the stretch three, and then it
Mm-hmm.
became the stretch four, and now people talking about stretch five. I mean, that's basically what basketball is. I mean, that's what the Warriors' death lineup is. Like, everyone needs to be a threat on the court and be able to shoot. Otherwise, that big man, they're not going to honor it. You're just clogging up the lane. So you look at when teams get all five shooters. They were talking about it yesterday. I think Grant Hill. I mean, just opens up driving lanes, especially when you look at the range of shooters now. So you have to come out on shooters 3 or 4 feet off the 3 point line. So that's why everyone on the court needs to be a 3 point shooter, and everyone on the court needs to be able to guard a 3 point position. That's my biggest thing with big men. Everything comes down to the pick and roll. And if you're switching pick and rolls, they're just going to get their best offensive player onto your, worst defender. It's like you look at the NBA this year, and I said in one of my hot takes is I don't really even consider the first round playoff basketball. That's kind of like an appetizer.
Mm.
I mean, the first round is kind of like you separate the pretenders from the contenders. To me,
Yeah.
the last 8 teams are clearly by far the last 8 teams. Maybe Memphis was maybe Minnesota. You could make an argument they might have been better than Dallas, I think. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, but either way, the teams that are out of the playoffs aren't great shooting teams like the Cavaliers or the Raptors. And even to me,
Mm.
like the Sixers got trouble. So for me, it's clearly the Bucks and Warriors are heading to a showdown. They're, to me, the two best teams. Miami's probably the best defensive team. And maybe the Suns, just because of Devin Booker, can will them to some series victories. But I think it's going to be pretty clear the two best shooting teams, Bucks versus Suns, Bucks versus Warriors. But hey, I got to peace out, but keep up the good work, Drake. We'll be in touch.
Sounds good, no puns. Thank you very much. Thank you for your take. You had some very interesting takes. That was a nice conversation. Thank you for coming on. No Punt is going to dip. And that was very interesting points. Saying John Morant might be the next Russell Westbrook. Saying, he's a great player. He's got the athleticism, but just he's not a great shooter. Like I said, he was an okay shooter this year. He shot 49% from the field, 34% from beyond the arc. But, teams might, just be like, all right, you're not going to be, taking them to the hole. You're going to have to shoot, and we'll see how that plays out. He said, teams shouldn't pay, DeAndre Ayton. Just fair. I think he's a little bit overrated. I do think he's a great player. At least a top 10 big man in the league. But I don't think he should be paid like, Rudy Gobert is making $40 million a year. Especially since, there's very few true centers in the NBA anymore. Look, the top three centers, in my opinion, this year were Nikola Jokic, who I think is the MVP of the league, Joel Embiid, who I think is the runner-up in that conversation, and Karl Anthony Towns. All can shoot. Nikola Jokic is an amazing shooter. Joel Embiid's a very good three-point shooter, and you got Towns is also a great three-point shooter. Is he the greatest three-point shooting big man ever? No, that's a fipsicle. He hyped himself up too much in that matter. But he is a great three-point shooter. He's one of the best three-point shooting big men in the league today. And that's what separates, I think, those three guys from guys like Rudy Gobert and DeAndre Ayton. Gobert's a fantastic player. He's an amazing rebounder. He might be the best defender in the entire NBA. He's got, 3 or 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards for a reason. I thought he could have won it again this year. He's a great player. He's a big part of the Utah Jazz. But he can't shoot. He's got no shot outside of probably 5, 6, 7 feet. DeAndre Ayton, a great player, incredible rim protector, really good rebounder. Really good interior defender. He's a big part of the Phoenix Suns team the last couple of years. Suns team that was in the finals last year. It's got a shot to go back this year. They're up 1-0 on Dallas in the second round series. If they're healthy, they should win that series. And that will probably set up a showdown. Obviously, we'll set up a showdown with probably Golden State. Maybe Memphis. We'll see who wins that series. But, again, he doesn't really have much of a shot outside of, the paint, really. So that kind of limits his ceiling, which is why I think those two guys are far below, the big three when it comes to big men of Nikola Jokic, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Joel Embiid in no specific order. So yeah, that's some interesting points, but we're gonna move on to the NFL draft. So let's start with the Arizona Cardinals. I thought the Cardinals did a decent job. First of all, they made a big move to get Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown's a really good player. He had a huge year last year for the Ravens. He had, his catches I'm sure were down. It's because the Ravens are such a run first offense. That's actually the reason he wanted out because him and Lamar Jackson are very close. They always have been. Last year, he had 91 catches for 1,008 yards and 6 touchdowns, and maybe the most run-heavy offense in the NFL. Now he goes to Arizona, and Cliff Kingsbury's offense, and one of the more pass-heavy offenses in the entire NFL. Imagine what he can do. After last year, he had 91 catches for over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. He could be in line for a big year. Could be a guy to keep your eye on in fantasy, especially with breaking news. Cardinals superstar receiver, probably top 3 in the league when he's healthy. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be suspended for the first 6 games of the regular season. He violated the PED policy in the NFL. He will miss the first 6 games of the season. They probably knew it was coming. They said he already appealed and it's final. I guess they knew it was coming and they tried to keep it quiet until the appeal happened. They maybe thought, all right, maybe by some miracle it would get overturned or at least reduced, maybe to 4 games or something. But unfortunately for the Cardinals and DeAndre Hopkins, he's going to miss 6 games. So that's a big move by them because without him, if you did join Marquise Brown, now you're relying on A.J. Green, who's still a good player. He had a decent year last year, but he's no longer a wide receiver 1, not what he once was. And then Rondale Moore is only going into his 2nd year in the league. Obviously Christian Kirk is now a member of the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you have Marquise Brown, you have a guy who could be who's a solid number 1 receiver. Maybe better off as a number 2, but an excellent number 2 and can be, I think, a decent number 1. And once you get Hopkins back, week 7, you have D-Hop, Marquise Brown, A.J. Green, and Rondale Moore. You're going to have Zach Ertz, Kyler Murray throwing the football, James Conner behind you, guy who led the league in rushing touchdowns last year. That offense is going to be scary. And their defense isn't, I wouldn't say it's terrible by any means. I think it's going to take a step back, but they'll put up enough points for that defense, I would think. It's a big year for Arizona, big year for Cliff Kingsbury, who has not won a playoff game in 3 years. Kyler Murray has not won a playoff game in 3 years. He's crying about a new contract, and he's complaining about some stuff. There's been some drama this offseason. So this is a big year for the Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury duo. I could see if Arizona doesn't win a playoff game, I could see Cliff being on his way out. If Kyler wants his extension, I think we'll have to wait until at least next offseason. And if he doesn't win a playoff game, he might not be able to get that. So we'll see. But they had a good draft. They pick up a star receiver, Marquise Brown. They give up a first-round pick, but they also get a third-round pick along with Marquise Brown back. They got Trey McBride in the 2nd round, probably the best tight end in the draft. He's really good. Now you got 2 good tight ends with Zach Ertz, who's still a very good player, and Trey McBride. You got one older guy, one young guy. Took a couple edges. They doubled down on that. I think it was from Chandler Jones. Obviously, J.J. Watt can't stay healthy. You took Cameron Thomas in the 3rd round, and you took Myjai Sanders at Cincinnati with the pick they got from Baltimore. So that was Good move to a running back, Deontay Ingram at USC in the 6th round. You never know with these running backs. We've seen a lot of running backs, go top 10 in the draft and not pan out. And then we've seen some guys go late in the draft in the very mid to late rounds and be fantastic. By the way, do not take a running back even in the first 20. Look at the guys that have been high draft picks. Ezekiel Elliott, the number 4 overall pick. His first three years, he was great. He's been good, but he has not been great. Not worth $90 million. Leonard Fournette, he's been a good player. He had a great year last year, but he has not been worth the 4th pick. He's been good, not great. Even McCaffrey, when he's been on the field, he's been probably the best in the league, but he can't stay healthy. And then you got Najee Harris looks like a stud, huge rookie year. He was 23rd pick in the draft. Alvin Kamara, absolute stud, 3rd-round pick. Derrick Henry, maybe the best in the league. Probably going to the Hall of Fame one day if he keeps this up. He's in the 2nd round. Jonathan Taylor last year could have been the MVP of the league. He had a huge year. Going to be a stud for a long time. 2nd-round draft selection. Nick Chubb, one of the best running backs in the league. I think very underrated. 2nd-round draft selection. There's no reason to take a running back early. That's just a little tidbit that I got. Also took Alexis Smith, an interior O-line in the 6th round. That's another good player. That's why. So Arizona, I did a good job, a very good job in the draft. The Atlanta Falcons. I think the Falcons did a very good job too. I thought they had a very good draft. This is a team that had a tough offseason. It's a team coming up a year. They had a rookie head coach in Arthur Smith last year. They had a rookie GM. And they did a tough year. Finished 7-10 out of the playoffs. And then, their best receiver, Calvin Ridley, got suspended for the entire year. For gambling, they lost Dante Fowler. You cut him for salary cap purposes. Probably their best edge rusher, though he's not very good. They didn't have really anything else. They're probably better with him than without him. Didn't really do anything to address their team. They need help on defense. They need help on the O-line. They didn't do anything to address that. I don't think they re-signed Russell Gage. So now their only really receiver they have prior to the draft was Kyle Pitts, their tight end, who did have a great rookie year, but they probably should have went quarterback last year, if you ask me. But I just want to address Alex's comments from earlier. Don't sleep on my Suns. I think that's fair. I think they're going to win the finals, and he also said you're not running 5 people on a 3-point LOL, and no punts disputed that. We'll see what happens in the NBA playoffs. And Patrick just said they traded Gage. Okay, so Russell Gage was traded. Okay. Thank you, Patrick, for that. But I did think the Falcons had a good draft. They did Drake London 8th overall. People are criticizing some of these receivers. They're saying London's got the ankle problem. They're saying Gary Wilson, who my Jets took, is, they're saying, he's undersized, he's mediocre speed and all this. These last couple drafts, the receiver talent has been insane. There's been 4, 5, 6 receivers per draft coming out that are looking like stars. You look a couple years ago, you had the one with, Justin Jefferson. How many receivers came out that year? And then this past year, you had Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith. All these different guys. So I don't see why this year could be any different. Patrick just said USC receiver, yeah. And then the kind of confused emoji. Falcons need a lot. They do need a lot. Honestly, I can see them picking number 1 next year. Their team is terrible. Mariota's their starting quarterback. He hasn't started the game in like 3 years. They don't have much of a run game. The weapons aren't great. The O-line's not very good. The defense isn't very good. They got a very young head coach who hasn't proven himself yet. That's going to be a tough time for them. That division's not overpowering. I mean, Tampa's very good. They'll probably win double-digit games. I don't think they'll go that far in the playoffs. Brady's amazing, but he's going to be 45. Saints, I don't expect too much from the Saints. They just didn't have money to add to the team this offseason. They lost some pieces. They have a good draft, but they'll do probably what they did last year, 9-8. Maybe they sneak in the playoffs. Probably they'll get out of the first round. It's probably their ceiling. And Carolina's not any good, in my opinion. And Atlanta's probably the worst in that division. Like I said, there's probably only one playoff team in that division. Maybe the Saints get 9 wins, and maybe they snag that last spot in the NFC, but Carolina's not going to be any good. Right now, Sam Darnold's a quarterback. That's a serious problem. Yeah, I think Drake London, if he stays healthy, will be an absolute beast. Could be Mike Evans 2.0. I like Arnold at Dickety. Apologies if I mispronounce his name. Penn State edge rusher, 2nd-round pick. He's a good player. They already needed an edge rusher. They get him. Troy Anderson, the linebacker at Montana State, I think is pretty good. They took a chance on Ritter in the 3rd round. I don't like the quarterback class at all. but I think he's got a little potential. Ritter, he's got good size, he's got a very good arm, he can run. I think he's got potential to be a good quarterback, franchise quarterback. Maybe I think he has a chance to be a real good, solid starter. But I'm not sure if he'll be a franchise guy. But they took on a project. I like Arthur Smith. I think he's going to be a good coach. I like his offensive mind. I think he's in a good system, Desmond Ritter. We'll see what happens. And I also like the O-lineman they took. I do like Justin Schaefer, but I meant to say the running back. Tyler Algier, maybe? I apologize if I mispronounced his name. And at BYU, I liked him in college. We'll see. They didn't need a running back. Cordell Patterson's more of a flex guy, not really a true running back, and they just cut Mike Davis, so. Maybe if cutting Mike Davis, they're going to let this kid, Algier, or whatever his name is, kind of run wild, since Patterson's more of a receiver than a running back. We'll see what happens. And even with tight end, John Fitzpatrick out of Georgia, I mean, that Georgia team was fantastic. There's no reason Fitzpatrick can't give you something. So I think the Falcons had a really good draft. So, moving on. Baltimore Ravens. Ravens had a really good draft. They did lose Marquise Brown. That was an unfortunate trade, but if he didn't want to be there, he didn't want to be there. They got a first-round pick for him, at least. But they took Kyle Hamilton, 14th overall. He's a really good player, Kyle Hamilton. I thought he was a top 10 prospect, and they got him at 14. That's a really good value. Really good safety at Notre Dame. Notre Dame, although they can't win a big game for their life, they're overmatched, but they do produce some good NFL talent. So they do have that going for them. So I would like them getting him. They had a big hole at safety. They've had a hole at safety for a couple years, and they addressed that. I like them. They get the 23rd pick, and they move back a few spots to get Linderbaum, the center out of Iowa. I really like him. I was a big fan of him throughout the entire draft process. Great player. I think really underrated. I think he'll be a great player. Center is the safest position in the draft. Every single center taken in the first round since 2000, I believe, has received a second contract from the team that drafted them. So center is the safest position in the draft, in my opinion. I think Linderbaum will be a really good player. Iowa's got really good offensive linemen that come out every year. So I like him. O-line was a need for the Ravens, and they fill it. They'll probably put him in center. Maybe move Bozeman back to guard. Yell Ronnie Staley healthy. That'll really help. And maybe the most underrated pick of the entire draft. Not just the Ravens, the entire NFL draft. David Ohabo, 45th overall, edge, Michigan. I know he's hurt. I know he's come up with torn Achilles. But first of all, I have a bit of a hot take. I think torn ACLs and torn Achilles are a little bit overrated. Because of the technology we have today, it is much easier to come back for them. Cam Akers came back from a torn Achilles in 6 months last year. And was able to, he wasn't the same player, but he was able to produce at least a little bit. And was at least a small part of the Rams Super Bowl run. Cold take. Yeah. So, that's my opinion on that. So, he tore it at the combine maybe. So, he said he came back wasn't good. Well, I mean, he came back, but he wasn't what he could have been. Like, the year before, he was a great player. He came back and he just wasn't quite the same. I'm saying guys can come back. It might take him a little while to get back to the top, but guys can come back and still produce at some level, even in 6 months from these injuries. Because of the technology we have today. 10, 15 years ago, the guy's missing an entire year. No question. But with today's technology, guys can come back from these injuries in 6 months and still produce. And then by the next year, they'll be 100% fine. Also, the defensive coordinator at Michigan, who completely unlocked his talent last year, is now the defensive coordinator with the Ravens. I don't know his name. I forgot his name. But he was an assistant with the Ravens for 6 years. Last year, he went to Michigan, was defensive coordinator, did an amazing job. Michigan had an amazing defense. David Ohabo had a huge year. And now Ohabo gets to reunite with him. He's a perfect fit for their system. I think it's going to be a great pick if he's healthy. And then I like them taking Travis Jones, the interior D lineman, at a UConn in the 3rd round. They took up punter in the 4th round. Kickers and punters are people too. Don't sleep on these kickers and punters. So I thought they had a very good draft. The Buffalo Bills. I thought they had a pretty good draft. I went over the AFC yesterday. I liked him getting Kyer Long in the 1st round. I'm not sure I would have moved up 2 spots for him. I'm not sure if that was needed. But he's a very good player, Kyer Long. They need another corner, and they get one. I'm not sure if Levi Wallace is back there. I'm not sure if he was re-signed. Trey White's coming off an injury. We'll see what happens. We got James Cook in the second round. I really like him. He's the younger brother of Dalvin Cook, one of the best running backs in the league for the Vikings. James Cook out of Georgia. Georgia's got a lot of great running backs that come out every year. So I think he'll be very good. You got two young backs in with him and Devin Singletary. Yeah, and they also took the punt god, Matt Ariza, in the sixth round. Don't sleep on him. Carolina Panthers, they pretty good. They did not have a ton of draft picks because of the Sam Darnold trade. They gave up 3 picks for that. They gave up a second rounder in this year's draft, which would have been really high. Also, when they picked up C.J. Henderson last year, that was not a good trade. They gave up they got Daniel back, but they gave up a draft pick or 2 for that. So they didn't have a ton of picks. But I love them taking Ike Ekwonu 6th overall. He's a top 5 player on my board, and they got him at 6. I think he's going to be a great player. They got 2 really good tackles now. Ike Ekwonu, who's a rookie, and Taylor Moton. They're taking a chance on Matt Corral in the 3rd round. I'm not a huge fan of Corral, but we'll see what happens. I don't think he's in a great situation either. Sam Darnold can't be a mentor for him, that's for sure. I don't really like Matt Rule. I think he's gone after the year. I don't think he's a very good NFL coach. Great college coach, not good in the NFL. I like them taking Brandon Smith, linebacker out of Penn State. A lot of good linebackers come out of Penn State. I could see him being no different. But that's a good pickup for them. So they were okay. They weren't on for a lot of picks. They got stud in Ekwonu. I think Brandon Smith could be good value. We'll see what happens with Matt Corral. I'll be interesting if he gets a chance, because Sam Darnold's not very good. I'm hearing, they're still in it on Baker Mayfield, but not likely to get him. Robbie Anderson's one of their best players. Definitely doesn't want him. That's for sure. Chicago Bears, they did all right. They weren't on the first-round pick. They had a tough offseason. They come off a really bad year last year. Where do you go from Darnold to Baker? What the F? Pat Jenkins wrote, yeah. I mean, I guess Baker's a little better than Sam Darnold. That's not saying much. Darnold might be the worst quarterback in the NFL. I think he's bottom 5 worst, but Baker might be worse. I mean, you can't get any worse, really. That's going from probably like the 3rd worst starting quarterback to the 4th worst starting quarterback. So, I guess it's an upgrade, but you're going from like straight garbage to like kind of garbage, I guess. They're both terrible, so we'll see what they do. But back to the Bears. They're not very good. They kind of had a regime change, new coach, new GM, but they didn't have a lot of cap space, so they had to trade away Khalil Mack, the star wide receiver, had to trade him to the Chargers. Didn't get much back for him. Didn't do anything in the offseason, lost some pieces. Didn't have a first-round pick, and they traded up to get Justin Fields last year. So they didn't have much. They took Kyler Gordon second round, the corner out of Washington. They already doubled down the secondary, which I didn't mind. Their secondary was not good last year. Vivas Jones is 25 years old already? Wow, that's very old for a rookie. I'm not sure why that is. But he's going to take him a 3rd round. Don't know much about him. We'll see what happens. I don't mind their first 2 picks, them addressing the secondary, taking Kyler Gordon in the corner, and then the safety, Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State. We'll see what happens. Their draft was okay. Then they weren't armed with the first. They have a first-round pick. Most of their picks were honestly on day 3. They're probably going to be top 5 next year in the draft, honestly, the Bears. I will not be surprised. Cincinnati Bengals. They're pretty good. They only had 6 draft picks. There's a team that's really built that defense through free agency. I like them taking Daxton Hill at 31. He's a real good safety at Michigan who had dominant defense last year. I think he's a really good player. I like him. They took Cam Taylor-Britt, the corner, out of Nebraska. I think he's pretty good. He's versatile. Hopefully he replaces Eli Apple, because Eli Apple is absolutely terrible. He might be the worst cornerback in the entire league. So that's probably his replacement right there. I like him. I like the O-line they got in the 4th round. Cordell Wilson and North Dakota State, the tackle. So they did all right. They didn't have a ton of picks, but I love them getting Daxton Hill. That's a good draft pick. Cleveland Browns. Because the Deshaun Watson trade didn't have a first rounder, but with what they had, they did a pretty good job. They took didn't draft till the 3rd round actually. Martin Emerson, corner of Mississippi State. I like him. Maybe he'll be able to pair with Denzel Ward, who got a big extension a couple weeks ago. I love them taking David Bell, the receiver out of Purdue, in the 3rd round. He's really good. I really like him. I love the D-tackle they took. Peregrine Winfrey, D-tackle out of Oklahoma. He's really powerful. He's hard to block. He's going to be very good. I like him in the 4th round. Cade York, fourth round pick, kicker out of LSU. Great kicker in college. Kickers with people too. Don't sleep on them. So I actually like what the Browns did, believe it or not. Next, Dallas Cowboys. I'm not a fan with the Cowboys, to be honest. I don't think their draft was great. I don't know who this kid Tyler Smith is. Offensive tackle out of Tulsa. The Cowboys love their offensive linemen. They love them. Every year they have a good offensive line. Every year they try to find a way to get an offensive lineman. They just try. I can't stand the Cowboys, so I can't see I'm unhappy, but I don't like what they did this entire offseason. They had a terrible offseason, probably the worst in the NFL. Maybe they traded away their top receiver, Amari Cooper, for salary cap purposes, mainly because they overpaid an average quarterback in Dak Prescott, and then as well as an average running back in Ezekiel Elliott. Paid them like they're elite when they're not. So they had to trade Amari Cooper. You know, they had to cut Layout Collins, a really good right tackle. You did not re-sign Randy Gregory. I do think he was overpaid by Denver, but you're better with him than without him. And Helpy's a really good player. Didn't bring in anybody major. I thought they reached for Tyler Smith in the first round. He's definitely a project. They're taking Petchak this road. They might be. I think the Eagles are going to win that division. It's Dallas to lose, but I think Philly might win that division. We'll get to them in a little bit, but they did the draft. But I think that was a reach. Tim Williams, edge of Mississippi, I don't mind. We'll see what some of these guys they took. Tolbert, the receiver out of Southern Alabama. The D lineman, John Ridgway out of Arkansas in the 5th round. We'll see what these guys turn into. But I didn't think they had a great draft. Put it this way, the headline was a reach, I thought, in Tyler Smith. So, how good it could really be. So, that's what the Dallas Cowboys did. Now, for the Denver Broncos. So they weren't earning a lot of picks because of the Russell Wilson trade, but they did all right. I like them taking Nick Bonito, edge out of Oklahoma, 2nd rounder. That was their first pick. He's pretty good. We'll see what he turns into. The tight end I thought was pretty good out of UCLA, Greg Dulcich. Denver the tight end. They traded Noah Fant for Russell Wilson, so that goes with me. I'm not sure who these other guys are, though. So they did all right. Weren't always a first-round pick, so it's tough when you don't have a first-rounder. So that's what I think the Broncos did. The Detroit Lions. So, by the way, Pat Rush is in here. He's a big Lions fan, so, Pat, if you want to give your thoughts on the Lions, feel free. I thought they did a pretty good job. I love their first 2 picks. They got Aiden Hutchinson at 2. I think they got the best player in the draft at 2. He's a great player, going to be a great edge rusher. I don't think there was one guy that completely blew you away. That was an obvious number 1 choice, like Trevor Lawrence or Joe Burrow or Myles Garrett, like we've had in past years. But Hutchinson, I thought was the number 1 prospect by a decent margin in this draft. He's really good out of Michigan. He's going to be a great player. And they move up for Jameson Williams. Come up with torn ACL. I mentioned earlier that guys can come back from ACLs a lot quicker than they used to, but the technology we got. Expect to be ready for training camp. He's going to be a really good receiver. They got 2 good young receivers, him and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I also like Josh Paschal, the edge out of Kentucky. I think he's very good as well. So I think they nailed their first 3 picks. At least 2, if not 3. And even the safety, Kirby Joseph of Illinois is pretty good, I think. Green Bay Packers. Okay. Green Bay Packers. Pat Rush requested the mic, so let's get him on. I don't know if he wants to talk about the Lions. We're on Talkin Sports with Jake. We're doing a little NFL draft talk. Just waiting for Patrick to hop on. I sent that over to him about 20 seconds ago, so we'll see if he's able to get on. For now, let's talk about the Green Bay Packers. I'm not sure if Patrick is saying F- to the Packers. I think the draft was horrible, but they should have taken a receiver a little bit earlier. They got 2 good defensive players out of Georgia. They got Kawhi Walker, the linebacker out of Georgia. I think he's a very good player. I remember in the background, providing excellent comedy, excellent part of my show. Devontae Wyatt, I think he's a really good player. He's kind of a D-bag. We'll see how that turns out, but I do think he's a really good player. So they adjust their defense. They move up to get Christian Watson in the second round. I thought they could have taken someone in the first round, but I think a little bit of people felt. But outside of those three guys, they got two good defensive players in the first round. They take a receiver in the second round. I think it's pretty good. We'll see. We'll see, but I don't know who any of these other guys are. Pat Jack just wrote, why would you need defensive division to Lions and the Bears with Aaron Rodgers going points up once again? That's true. And the Vikings got a good offense, but Kirk Cousins is also going to, not going to be able to win him a Super Bowl. And the Bears' lines are terrible. That's a good point. I would have taken receiver a little bit earlier. Honestly, they had 22 and 28. They got 2 first-round picks, from the Devontae Adams trade. I would have moved up in the draft and tried to get a receiver. That's honestly what I would have done. I'm sure they went all the receiver. They went pretty high, but you got like Jahan Dobson who went 16th. I would have called, I forgot who we have a 65th, maybe the Saints originally, and then they moved back with Washington. I would have called Washington. We'll give you a 22 and maybe 2 or 3 other mid-rounders for that pick because they didn't receiver bad. But I do get 2 really good defensive players. So we'll see what happens. But I don't think Aaron Rodgers is too happy, though. I wouldn't be if I was him. He does not have any receivers. His best receiver is either the kid they just drafted in the second round or Sammy Watkins, who is not that good at all. Houston Texans. All right, so I thought the Texans actually did a pretty good job. I'm a little bit higher than some other people are, I think. They are sitting me at 3. I thought he was behind Ahmad Gardner for corners in this draft. I think 3 is a slight reach. Now, he's had some injuries the last couple of years. He's regressed since his first year there.
Buddy, how are you?
What's up, Patrick?
How are you doing, my man? How's
Not
your day?
bad. Pretty good.
All right, so you're in where are you at? Connecticut or New York right now?
I'm still at college in Connecticut. Friday I come home.
Friday come home.
For the summer.
So yeah, you're finishing up your sophomore year?
Yep.
Oh boy, howdy. So that's wonderful. That's what's up right there, man. That's what's up. Keeping, stay in school, get that degree.
Well, definitely.
But yeah, so it's cool. It's great having you debate on Light 'Em Up recently. You did a very good job. You went against some hard people.
Yeah.
So, speaking about, just like, what are you, you're talking about the NFL draft and NBA and NHL playoffs. So, I got a couple questions for each segment.
All right, cool.
All right, so, was it you or Pat Cass that did a debate on who won the draft? Is that you?
It was... Who won the draft? That was me and Nelly.
You and Nelly. So, do you think it could be a team other than the Jets or the Eagles?
I think those are the top 2. As for someone else, trying to think, I think those are the top 2. I'm not sure, honestly, if it could be somebody else. I like what Atlanta did. I'm not sure if it could be anybody else, honestly.
Oh, we got R.C. Milton in the building.
Maybe the Giants.
What's up?
The Giants. Ravens as well. Patrick's right. So I'll say the Ravens and the Giants also did very well.
All right, that's what's up. Okay, so now a little bit of an NBA question. What's going to be the best semifinal series that is not Golden State versus Memphis?
I would say the second best to that would be... that's a good one. I'll go to the, that's tough. I'll say Phoenix and Dallas. I look at Boston, Milwaukee. Milwaukee's down Middleton. Milwaukee got game 1, but either Boston's going to go back to where they played at the beginning of the year and Milwaukee's going to beat them, or Boston will stay hot and they'll end up winning that series. And then the other one in the East, the mine's going to blow past Philly. Harden, this is a hot take. I think Harden's kind of washed. He's got to get back in shape, or he won't be able to put the numbers that he wants to. He's never been good in the playoffs. That's very possible. I think he might be washed. That this might be who he is. We'll see. That's very possible. I've never been a fan. He chokes in the playoffs every year. But without Embiid for the first 2 games, maybe the first 3 plus, I think he might win that in 5. So I think Phoenix and Dallas will be a pretty good series. Phoenix took game 1. Luka definitely needs more help. He's putting up 45 and 10 plus, and he's still losing. But I think
Oh
they'll
my
make the
gosh.
series.
Those numbers? Holy fuck. How old is Luka?
He's got to be. He can't be older than 22,
Alexa,
23.
how old is Luka Doncic?
Using Alexa.
Luka Doncic is 23 years old.
He's 23 years fucking old.
Wow.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh, that's terrifying.
Crazy.
If he stays healthy, that's the scariest guy. Holy shit.
Yeah.
He's this good at that young. Oh my gosh. That's horrific. That's absolutely terrifying. Imagine. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's scary. That's
RC just wrote. What did he write about Alexa? The comment, what the heck? The comments went away. RC just wrote something about, like, he said she has the Slovenian inflection.
Yeah.
That's a great comment.
Yeah, I got it secondhand at No, I didn't. I don't know what I was gonna say, but it's gonna be bad. So I'm just gonna stop. Yeah. So, what does it say? Alexa has a Slovenian inflection. Impressive. Yeah. I just I read it out loud and it turned on. It's the most value. For a little hockey puck, this echo can do a lot. But going out to the NHL. I have a biased opinion on this, and R.C. Milton knows my stance on this.
Okay.
But you don't. Now I'm going to tell you it. So there
Okay.
goes the veil. Calgary, I honestly believe, and R.C. Milton knows I think this, can beat Colorado. Do you believe that's a possibility that Calgary can win the West?
I think it's possible. I do not have them winning the West. I think both teams have some concerns. But I do think Calgary can absolutely come out of the West. I could see them beating Colorado. I could see them not winning, but I could see both sides. I think it's a lot closer than people think.
Now, who do you think wins the East?
The East, I would love to say my Rangers, but I don't think they're quite there yet. I think coming out of the East, I think it's going to be Carolina.
Oh, fuck that. Really? Why?
Because they're just such a great team. They have an incredible coach in Rod Brindamore. They are so good defensively. So many young stars. They could score. They got real solid goaltending.
I mean, I know Wilmer argued for that, but that doesn't mean it's reality. I
don't know what he said, but that's my pick to come out of the East. Carolina Hurricanes.
Fuck, really? The Carolina?
Yes.
What are they in their division?
They won the Metro and they finished second in the conference.
They finished second. Who is number one?
Florida.
The Florida Panthers are better. The third team, which I believe is Tampa, right? In the Metro?
They are in the Atlantic. Tampa is in the Atlantic.
What are they right now?
They finished second in the Atlantic. They finished fifth in the East. They're down. They actually lost 5-0 to the Maple Leafs in Game 1.
Oh, the NHL playoffs have already started?
Yeah, we had a few games yesterday, yeah.
I think Toronto actually upsets Tampa.
I don't see it, but it's possible.
No, the reason it's just it's the most crazy team. I've never seen a team like Toronto, where they dazzle me offensively, but absolutely make me grotesque defensively. I feel like, oh gosh, what the fuck was that? Defensively, but then offensively, I just ooh and ah.
Offensively they're fantastic. That's always been the problem: the defense and goaltending. I know. I'm not sure if you're a Maple Leafs fan or RC Mill, but if you might be able to test this, their defense and goaltending is what always gets them. To win the Stanley Cup and to win the playoffs in the NHL, you have to have a goalie and you got to be able to play defense. That's why I don't have Colorado even getting out of the second round.
I think that they can. I think Tampa gets upset. I just think it's Toronto's year to win the series.
That's possible. I can see them winning. I have Tampa winning, and Pat Jack just wrote that Jack Campbell hasn't looked solid. He has had a very good year, but I don't know. They don't wow me, and I just don't trust them to win a playoff series. Toronto.
I do. I mean, it's not like the old days. Things have changed. Their offense is legit, and it's enough to win 4 games. I don't know, but that's a different thing. So, what are you more excited for? The NBA Finals or the Stanley Cup Finals?
I'm gonna go with the Stanley Cup playoffs. I just think the hockey and NHL playoffs are just the best playoffs of the four major sports. Also, my New York Rangers, I think, have a shot at getting there. I don't think it'll happen, but I think they have a shot. And my New York Knicks were absolutely terrible this year, and they're not even didn't even sniff the play-in. So one reason my team's actually in the NHL, and I just think the NHL playoffs are just overall better than the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, I mean that's like apples and oranges, but it's fun to see which one like fans are more excited for. I mean, it's cool that you can even like talk about this. I'm so glad that hockey is like.
Mets are up 3-1.
Yeah,
By the way.
I'm sorry. What? Sorry, what'd you say?
I said the Mets are up 3-1. By the way, so you know.
Oh, good for the Mets. The Mets are my second favorite MLB team.
Ooh, cool.
My what's your least favorite MLB team? It's fun to gossip about things that we hate.
My least favorite. Ooh, I got a bunch. Probably Washington. I would say Washington. I got a few that I hate, but I gotta go with Washington. Probably followed by the Phillies, the Braves, and the Yankees, and then the Marlins.
My least favorite is everybody in the AL Central but the Detroit Tigers. Like, literally, I hate faux. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, Pat, thanks for jumping on. We had a great conversation. That's Pat Ross's Guys show coming up later. But back to the NFL draft. I thought the Texans did a pretty good job. I do think Simmons a little bit of a reach, but I do think he'll be a great player. And they needed everything that they could get. Houston Texans. Patrick just wrote, I hate the teams that are relevant for 25 plus years. Reds, Orioles, Pirates, what the F? Try. Yeah, the Reds. Reds are awful this year. 3-19 going into yesterday. Wow. Orioles, they haven't tried in 5 years. Pirates haven't tried in 5 years. What the heck's going on? Yeah, and I like him taking Kenyon Green. Some people thought it was a reach. I didn't really think it was a reach. He's a really good offensive guard. I got the best guard in this draft. They need a line help, need help everywhere. They get him. They took a good safety and Jalen Pitre at Baylor in the second round. Got a fast receiver at Alabama and John Mechie in the second round. Also got Christian Harris, who's a good linebacker they got at Alabama in the third round. So Houston, I did think Houston did a good job. I would mention them up 4-1. So keep it going, Mets. Yeah, that's my Houston Texans. I thought did a good job. Indianapolis Colts didn't have a first round pick because of the Carson Wentz trade. That's not a good trade by them at all. Took a pretty good receiver, Alec Pierce, in the second round. That was their first pick they had. They had Bernard Raymond, Central Michigan offensive tackle, third round. I think was a steal. I kind of wanted the Jets to get him. They didn't get him. It's all right. But I think he's a good player. They needed another tackle, and they get him in the third round. So I thought that was a pretty good pick. Not sure about these other guys, but those two guys that were good. They did pretty good considering they didn't have a first rounder. Jacksonville Jaguars. They did okay. Patrick just wrote, idiots, white wide receiver. Yeah, that's not a bad point. Johnny Woods was a disaster. Yeah, that's honestly fair. That's really funny. Jaguars, I think Trevor Walker's going to be a great player, a really good edge rusher, but I think they reached for him. I think he's a top 10 pick, kind of similar to Derek Stingley. I thought he's a very good player, but a tiny bit of a reach. I would have taken Aiden Hutchinson, but I do think he's very good. I love them trading up for Devin Lloyd, really good linebacker out of Utah. He was my best linebacker in this draft, I thought. That was a really good pickup for them. I like the same way they take out of Kentucky, Luke Fortner, linebacker out of Wyoming, Chad Muma. They took a guy named Snoop Connor. It's a really cool name. See if he lives up to the name. Yeah, it's a really cool name. Probably the best name in this draft. Snoop Connor. That's a name and a half right there. So they did pretty good. The Jaguars could have done better, but I thought they did decent. Okay, Kansas City Chiefs. I thought the Chiefs actually did a very good job in this draft. You know, they had 2 1s and 2-2s to play with after they traded Tyreek Hill. They addressed their defense in the first round, which needed a lot of help. They got a really good corner, Trent McDuffie out of Washington at 21. He's very good. They got a couple good young corners with him and Darius Sneed there. They got a huge steal on George Karlaftis, in my opinion, out of Purdue. Karlaftis is really good. I really like him. I like he was at least a top 20 guy, and they get him at 30. So I didn't get the steal on George Karlaftis out of Purdue. And they also got Sky Moore. He's a very good player, wide receiver, out of Western Michigan. I like him. They also got a linebacker like Leo Chenal in Wisconsin. He's really good. I like him in the third round. I think that's good value there. So Chiefs did a pretty good job, I thought. They addressed their defense. They, I think, got 3 really good defensive players: Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, and even Leo Chenal, and they got a good receiver in Sky Moore, which they could use with Tyreek Hill now in Miami. Las Vegas Raiders. They did all right. They didn't have a lot of picks because of the Devontae Adams trade, so didn't pick till the third round. The interior lineman they got, I think, is pretty good. Dylan Parham out of Memphis. And they took a running back out of Georgia. These Georgia running backs can't go wrong with them. Zamir White in the 4th round. They got 2 good young backs now in him and Josh Jacobs. They actually declined the 5-year option on Josh Jacobs. He'll be a free agent after the season, so maybe they're planning to have Zamir White take over as the full-time guy next year. And this year he'll kind of be like a change of pace guy, so we'll see. But out the first 2 picks, considering they were to the 3rd and 4th rounds, were pretty good. Los Angeles Chargers. They did a pretty good job with Chargers. I like what they don't love it, but I like it. Zion Johnson's a really good offensive guard. Chargers O-line for a while has really struggled. They've been rebuilding it piece by piece the last couple of years. Last year, they went and got Corey Lindsey, a really good center. You draft Slater last year, the left tackle in the 1st round. They tried going and get Brian Bulaga. They didn't really work, but at least they tried. And then I pick up Zion Johnson, guard at Boston College. He's a good player. I really like him. You took J.T. Woods, safety out of Baylor. I like him. I like Isaiah Spiller, the running back at Texas A&M. He's a good back. They got Eckler there, and even Justin Jackson's pretty good, but I like Isaiah Spiller. So I thought the first 2 picks were very good. LA Rams, I mean, does it even matter what the Rams do in the draft? They don't care about draft picks. That's very apparent. Whatever. Who cares? In fact, I like what they did, considering they picked him a 3rd round. Interior lineman Logan Bruss, like Wisconsin, I think is pretty good. Wisconsin's got another good old lineman. I like the corner Jacoby Durant out of South Carolina State in the 4th round. The running back Kyron Williams at Notre Dame I like. I think they did pretty good, considering they picked him a 3rd round, and they'll probably trade all these guys in the next 2 years anyway. Who cares? Miami Dolphins, they only had 4 picks for the Tyreek Hill trade. I went on the AFC yesterday, but Channing Tindall, linebacker out of Georgia, really good player. Minnesota Vikings. I think the Vikings did a pretty good job. I like what they did. They trade back and get Louis Sine at 32, safety out of Georgia. He's a very good player. I like him. They doubled down on the secondary. They got Andrew Booth, corner out of Clemson. I agree with the move to double down on the secondary. Their secondary has been terrible the last couple of years. And they got 2 really good players, Louis Sine out of Georgia and Andrew Booth out of Clemson. 2 schools that produce really good NFL talent as well. So, tight chair running back out of North Carolina. North Carolina had Javonte Williams, Michael Carter come out, like a year or 2 ago. Both look very good so far. So that appears to be a kind of like an RBU kind of thing on the rise. So they did a pretty good job, the Minnesota Vikings. New England Patriots. I'm not gonna lie, the Patriots may have had the worst draft. Call me crazy, but I do not like what they did. Cole Strange out of Chattanooga. I know they moved back 8 spots for him, but I think that's a reach. I'm a Jet fan. I know better than to doubt Bill Belichick. He's a genius, but I think they reach. And if you look at his 1st round picks the last few years, they have not been very good. 2014 took Dominic Easley, defensive lineman. The magic is gone. That might be true, Patrick. We'll see. In 2015 or 2016, they took Malcolm Brown, defensive tackle. He wasn't very good for them. Sonny Michel, running back with the 1st round pick. Didn't really blossom until he left the Patriots. He took N'Keal Harry a few years ago. Absolutely terrible. You kind of just mentioned him. He was awful. Isaiah Wynn, 2018, has been okay. I don't think he's amazing. He's been good, not great. Mac Jones looks good, but still hasn't proven himself. And now Cole Strange, I don't think he's going to be that good. I do like him taking Tyquan Thornton, receiver out of Baylor. But quarterback in the 4th round, Bailey Zapp, quarterback out of Western Kentucky in the 4th round. You just took a kid in the 1st round last year who was an offensive rookie of the year finalist. You take another quarterback in the 4th round? That doesn't make any sense. Bailey Zapp out of Western Kentucky. Well, who even is that? He's got a cool-ass name, but besides that, that's about it. That's most good with one random lucky year, Pat Jackrow. All right. So, I'm not a fan of what the Patriots did, really, at all. New Orleans Saints, they traded up. They gave up a lot to trade up and get Chris Olave. They made that wacky trade with the Eagles. They picked 15 or something for 16, 19. It's a mid-round, so they gave up a 1 next year and a 2 in 2 years. But I'm not sure if they should have moved up to get Olave. They could have gotten a good receiver at I think it was 15 or 6 at 16. But Olave is really good. I think he's gonna be a great player. And I love him getting Trevor Penning off the tackle on Northern Iowa at 19. He's really good. Fills in the need. They lost Terran Armstead in the offseason. So I know Olave also fills in the need. They need another receiver. Michael Thomas can't stay healthy. So if he stays healthy this year and he's Michael Thomas, the Saints could be looking pretty good. And the breaking news, the Saints yesterday are finalizing the deal with Tyrann Mathieu, one of the league's best safeties in free agency. So last week or so for the Saints they've picked up some good players. New York Giants. I think the Giants did a really good job. I don't know about a lot of these guys outside their first 2 picks. They had 5 and 7. Some people are a little bit lower on Kayvon Thibodeaux than I am. I know Pat Jack, I know you're a little bit lower on him than I am, but I really like him. Edwards Red Oregon. I think he'll be a really good player. And they got a stud in Evan Neal, who you argue was a top 3 player in this draft at 7. Offensive tackle. I think he's really good. And they needed offensive line more than any team that I've ever seen. And I watch the Jets, and I have for Jets every single weekend. That's a great pick. Now they got 2 really good young tackles with him and Andrew Thomas. I like the receiver Wendell Robinson at Kentucky. I think he's pretty good. They took a tight end Bellinger in the 4th round. We'll see what he does. Dane Belton, safety out of Iowa. And so we'll see what they do, but I think they did a good job. New regime. If it was Dave Gettleman, obviously I'd be a little more doubtful because Gettleman was one of the worst GMs I've ever seen. But with Joe Schoen, this regime looks a little bit more competent. My New York Jets I talked about yesterday, but I think they nailed it. I think they had a great draft. I even think it was the best that you could argue. Amos Husqvarna, stud corner, fills the knee. I think he's got a great receiver in Derek Wilson. I love them moving up to get Jermaine Johnson, really good at Florida State. Perfect fit for Salah's defense. People are bashing the Breece Hall pick. I think it's a pretty good pick. Is it an amazing pick? No. I think it's a solid pick. Now they got 2 good young backs with him and Michael Carter. Both are 3-down guys. I think Breece Hall's more of a 3-down guy than Carter. But Hall can catch the ball as can Carter. They got 2 good young backs now. I like the tight end Rucker of Ohio State. I think he's pretty good. Max Mitchell, the O-tackle of Louisiana, is a perfect fit for the zone run scheme. I think could start a right tackle on day 1. Michael Clemens, I think, is a good fit for the scheme as well. He's not very raw, but under Robert Saleh, you never know. So I think they had a really good draft in the New York Jets. They got 3 top 15 guys. Philadelphia Eagles absolutely killed it. I think they had the best draft of any NFC team. You could argue the best draft overall. You definitely know Easy Money Knowing thinks so from his debate with me. Jordan Davis, absolute stud, defensive tackle, 13th overall. He's going to be a great player. 3rd round, they got Nakobe Dean. That's a really good steal. He's going to be a great linebacker. They got Jason Kelsey's heir apparent at the center, Cam Jurgens out of Nebraska. And they made a trade to get one of the best receivers in the league in A.J. Brown. Eagles looking like the best team in that division right now. Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they did a good job of Steelers, actually. I don't know what thing about Kenny Pickett. I don't love him. I just think he's a pocket passer, and there really isn't room for a pocket passer in today's NFL. But he's got potential. We'll see what happens. Mike Tomlin said he's going to compete with Mitch Trubisky for the starting job. We'll see. I like the receiver. They took George Pickens in the 2nd round. Out of Georgia, he's a really good player. They got a ton of weapons now. So Marvin Leal, D lineman, edge rusher at Texas A&M. I really like him. He's very good. So I think their first two picks were their mid round that were very good, and I think they got a chance with Kenny Pickett, him being a local kid from Pittsburgh, in that offense with Mike Tomlin's head coach, Matt Canada, opposite corner. He used to be a college coach. He knows what it's like to be for guys to transition from college to the pros. I think he's a good fit for their system. I think that could work. The San Francisco 49ers, now the first round pick, moving up to get Trey Lance. They did all right. I really do like them getting Drake Jackson in the second round. Then he's a very good player, edge rusher. Don't know about these other guys, but he's a good player. They actually took a quarterback out of Iowa State with the last pick of the draft. Brock Purdy of Iowa State, quarterback, was Mr. Irrelevant this year, by the way. The Seattle Seahawks. I thought the Seahawks did a very good job, actually. I like what they did. They got a really good offensive tackle out of Mississippi State in Charles Cross. I think it's really funny that for years Russell Wilson said, I want a better offensive line. As soon as he leaves, they take a really good old lineman. I think that's pretty funny. He'll be DeJuan Brown's heir apparent. I love what they did in the second round, getting Boyd May for edge rusher in Minnesota. I think he's really good. They needed edge rush help. And they got a great running back in Kenneth Walker to Michigan State. I think he's going to be a beast in the NFL. So they got three really good players in this draft, Seattle. We got Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They did all right. Didn't have a first round pick. They traded out of the first round. I do like them getting Logan Hall in the second round. Really good defensive tackle. Tampa loves those big, strong D linemen. And they get another one on Logan Hall. I like Luke Dodek, the center out of Central Michigan. They took him in the second round. They got a kicker in the fourth round, Jake Carlotta, very good college kicker. Kickers are people too. Don't sleep on the kickers. They did okay. I probably would have stayed in the first round considering what they ended up getting. So. Tennessee Titans. Of course, they had a tough move to move A.J. Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know why they did that for a first and a third rounder. But Traylon Burks is a really good receiver out of Arkansas. I really like him. I think he'll be a really good player. Roger McGreary is a good corner. And they got Malik Willis from the third round. I thought he could have been a top 10 pick, boss. I don't think he should have been. I would have said top 20 guy, but still, first round prospect in the third round, that's pretty good. And he can learn behind Tannehill for a year. I think that's a very good value. I think he's got potential. Mike Rebel's a really good coach. We'll see how that turns out. Wrapping up the NFL draft here. Almost done. Are we on the last team? I think he might be. Washington Commanders. That's my last one. I don't think they did a really good job, Washington, actually. They moved back to get Jahan Dotson, a very good receiver. I don't really think it's a reach. Some people did. I don't think it's a reach. I think he's a really good player. They need a number two receiver, and they get it. I love them getting Phil-Adrian Mathis, the defensive tackle out of Alabama. He's really good. Now that to beef up that D-line. Brian Robinson out of Alabama. Can't go wrong with Alabama guys. A lot of good running backs come out of that school. Percy Butler, safety in Louisiana, is pretty good. They took Sam Howell in the fifth round. I'm not sold on Sam Howell. We'll see, but he can learn behind. I mean, Carson Wentz is talented, but he'll slip behind him from a veteran guy for a year or two, probably. And we'll see what he can do. He was really good when he had a really good supporting cast. And then once he graduated, he kind of struggled. So we'll see. That is good value to win in the fifth round. And that is the NFL draft in 2022. It was a crazy draft. And now it's time to move on to the NBA playoffs, second round underway. Kicking off yesterday, we had the Heat beat the Sixers 106-92. In game one, Bam Adebayo, 24 points, 12 rebounds. Tobias Harris, 27 points in the loss. Harden, 16 points, which is like 5 of 13. He really struggled. They had no one beat, of course. And the Suns beat the Mavericks 121-114. Booker, 23 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Luka had 45 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists in the loss. Huge game. The Suns still pulled out. So those two series are 1-0 today. Got the other two series, Bucks and Celtics. Milwaukee took game one, and Warriors, Grizzlies, Golden State narrowly took game one in that series. So that's what we got for the NBA. NHL playoffs kicked off yesterday. We had some really good games. We started with the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings. The Kings won 4-3 in Game 1. Flipped off the game winner. Terrible play by Mike Smith. That late giveaway, that was brutal. The other games were actually blowouts. We had Hurricanes over the Bruins, 5-1 in Game 1. We had the Maple Leafs show the Lightning 5-0. Oh my goodness. Matthews adds 2 more goals, including the playoffs. Matthews has 62 goals a year. That's crazy. And the Blues shut the Wild 4-0 in Game 1. David Perrin had a hat trick in that one. As for tonight, we got some exciting games on. My Rangers have game 1 against the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight, 7 o'clock on ESPN. 7:30 Eastern Time. Capitals and Panthers game 1. 9:30 Predators Avalanche game 1, and game 1 of the Stars Flames is at 10 o'clock. And that's all I got for you guys today. We got a golf event this week. We got, I believe it's the Wells Fargo this week. That starts Thursday. Keep your eyes on that. That's all I got. Glad you guys could join me for the NFL Draft Talk. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you, RC. Thank you, Pat Rush. Thank you, No Punts. Thank you, Pat Jack. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, John, for popping in. I had a lot of fun today. I will be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Until then, so long, and have a great day.